So this is going to try to present some really bizarre, crazy things. What and the information of how we know who is behind the invasion and who allowed and enabled Hamas to make this slaughter. So I want to make it clear that this is not guesswork or theory. Laying down some bare facts. Let's start out with the bare fact that the IDF publicized and published to news agencies that they knew of the attack immediately when it happened. We also know that when the Hamas invaders came in, they came into army bases that were empty or 99.9% empty of Israeli troops. So these are facts, and other facts are that there was no response for at least 5 or 6 hours, not of any the arrival of any Israeli troops or planes or helicopters, tanks, or jeeps, or anything for 5 or 6 hours. One of the questions I have is how many Israeli troops were on those border communities, right in the midst of them on a normal basis throughout the year. So this is not a published statistic information. It's not publicized, but we can make an estimate. We do know that over the past couple of days, 1,500 militants from Hamas were killed inside of Israel. 1,500 had come in that had not escaped. We're not talking about the ones, maybe another few hundred, maybe another 1,000 or 2,000 were in and escaped. So we can estimate that roughly 3,000, 2,500, 3,000, 3,500 Hamas guys came in during the invasion. How many Israeli troops do you think are there on a normal basis? So it's well more than 3,000. Maybe it's 10,000. And then they have all kinds of equipment, tanks and jeeps and massive artillery and access to having planes arrive within a few minutes. So one of the questions that arises is exactly at what time and what day were all the Israeli troops, let's say 10,000 of them, distanced from the border communities several miles. When did that happen? Did it happen the day before the invasion? Did it happen 3 days before the invasion or a week before? It is important to know. It's critical to know, and I'll explain why, but because we have to know who gave the order to remove all these troops and when that order was given for a reason. And then the troops, in any event, they weren't that far away. They could have still arrived instead of 10 minutes time. They could have arrived in half an hour, 40 minutes time. They were not that far away. Who prevented them for the first 5-6 hours from responding? So, I can guess, but we're talking about the top levels that are controlling the IDF, because all the middle level guys, as soon as they would have been known of the invasion and would have been allowed, they would have definitely come in and commanded all their troops to come in and respond. So who was stopping them? And it could only be someone on the highest levels that were stopping them. So, it's either the highest levels in the IDF or who's above them is giving the orders. It's probably, I would say, the Mossad. That's my theory, and we know that. So these are the facts, and if it's true that that it was the Mossad that set this up and prevented the Israeli troops from responding, and they enabled the slaughter. So that's traitorous, and they need to be brought to trial. But why is it that nobody's talking about this in the news? I mean, it's so obvious. There's nothing here that is not published information that I'm talking about, that it was published that the Israeli side knew immediately when they were being invaded, and it's known to everyone now from all the testimony from all the victims that no troops were there, and they even after they were running from the slaughter, they came to the bases and they were empty. The only people that were there were Hamas guys, and these are undisputable facts. So why isn't it that everyone is talking about? I mean, all the news should be talking about this. Is the most crazy thing about what's going on is the traitorous deeds of those that are controlling the IDF, that they took the IDF away from the border and didn't allow them to respond. So we have to get to these people, because the unfortunate truth is these evil people are still controlling the IDF right now. And I'll tell you something else. Any normal country that would have the equipment and the technology and the power and the abilities that the IDF has would have ended this war. We're talking about we're going to go in with all the force. It would have been over already. Any monkey would have finished the war. It would have been the last war. There would never be a single rocket coming from Gaza ever again. There would never be any Arab terrorist infiltrating ever again, if any normal country would be defending themselves from the atrocities that occurred. I mean, we could have ended it in 72 hours, and any other normal country would have done it. So the same evil people that allowed the atrocities to happen are not allowing our IDF to respond and to stop the war. They're talking about drawing it out for months. And they could end it in 72 hours. They have the intelligence, they have the abilities, they have the equipment. So it's critical that we need to get to these evil people that are enabling all these atrocities, because now we have continually more Jewish blood being spilled. They're talking about the heroes of the IDF that are going in there, but they're taking orders from the same people that enabled these atrocities. And so more Jewish blood is being spilled. So we can't allow these evil traitors to be controlling our IDF and telling us what we can and can't do to defend ourselves. We have to get these people and put them on trial. And when they're found guilty, they have to be executed. That's what needs to be done for the security of Israel and for the world.